Welcome back to the tech space, and in this tutorial we're going to be going over something called scope. So in JavaScript we have something called scope that is how a variable is represented. So basically when we have things like, functions and stuff like that, later on when we go over that, we're going to have blocks of code that are blocked off from other code. So basically say I have a function. And I'll just write a quick function. I'm not going to explain it, but I'll make a function. And inside that function, I just want to say this, and then, I'm going to call my function again. Doesn't have to make any sense right now. What I'm just trying to explain is something else. So, basically, what I'm trying to get across right now is that when we have functions later on, we're going to have to create variables. And this is how you create a function, but we're going to have to create variables inside of the function. So say if we have integer x, and I set that to hello there, and that's inside this function. Then when I go to document write something to the screen, I can just say document write x, and I can do this tons of times. I can just create another variable y that says, what are you doing? Sort of messed something up there, but basically we have a variable x and y, and I can just say, document write x plus y, and we all know how to do that. Unfortunately, the function thing I'm going to explain later, but for this tutorial, like I said, I want to explain something called scope. So when you create a variable inside of a function, it's declared inside the function, it can only be used inside that function. So in order to get something out of that function, we want to declare the variables outside. So when I go to create a different function, so that's f0, we're going to create a function called f1, put braces on it, and then say, variable, say I want to use variable x. So say variable p is up here, and it's equal to John, and that's the only thing that's in this function. And basically, well, no, I'm not even gonna. That's the only thing in this function for right now. We have a function called f1 and a function called f0. Inside f1, there's a variable p called John. So down here, I want to document write out the variable for or I want to use the variable p. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and load this web page. So it says, hello there, how are you doing? Because it ran function 0, or f0. And what I'm going to do next is we're going to take this function out, and in function 0, we're just going to see if we can use document write p, because we already created a variable called p, but so we should be able to use it and get whatever it's set to. So we'll document write p, and we should get John somewhere. And as you can see, it did not run properly. It's because this is a variable that is assigned to the f1 class. It isn't a global variable, and it doesn't have a global scope, as they say in JavaScript. So to change the scope of it, what we're going to do is take it, copy it, and paste it above every function in that in your code. So now when I go to console log, say we'll delete everything out of these two functions, and when I go to document write, not console log, when I go to document write p out onto the screen in both of these functions, it should work both times. So we're going to document write p and function function f1 and function f0, and so we should get John out on the screen twice. Now I know we haven't went over functions again, but this is just the concept of global variables. So since it's outside of each function can access that variable, and we can see by running this we get John, and that's because each function got access to it and each function printed it out on the screen. And that's basically how scope is. If you have a variable inside a function, it can only be used in that function. If you have a variable outside your functions on top of all of them, it is called or said to have a global scope and can be used in all of your functions. So remember that when you're building your functions later on, when we go over them and we go over how to use them, remember this. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.